Hello, my fellow programmers. Welcome back once more to this course for drives. And in today's topic, we are going to review our connection from scratch. From our digital input system. In this case, 3-wire connection. So we're going to use this method. And I would like us to see here in our operation manual how this connection is. And for now, I'm going to do this with you so that you guys can see how it's done from the beginning. Because in this type of course, what really matters is the theoretical part is important, but the practical part is very important. Because sometimes they leave us hanging on the field, but it's not how it should be. So therefore, if we still have any other questions, we're going to analyze this. So we have here our feed, our drive feed, our motor feed, input, output, and well, this is the digital part. So I was already able to place the camera so that we can start getting closer, and that way we can all start to see how our terminals are. So we have our terminals M1, M2, and M3, or the MI1, which we're unable to perceive. Okay, so here we go. Now, here we go. We have our M1 terminal, M2, M3, M4, M5, etc. Now, what do we need to connect here first? So the terminal that has, or which has these types of drives, and I'm going to use my screwdriver for this, are my very small screwdriver, or as we say here, our small screw. And we have to enter here, we have to input here our cabling. But before we connect and before we run our wiring, okay, then we're going to see that we have certain tools, but basically these are devices. So we have our start button, we have our stop button, and oh surprise, I had already told you that we were not going to be able to add our selector or our forward or backwards button. But I said, you know what, once we're already here, let's use our 3-wire system, and let's use this so that you guys can see how everything works. So we have our switch here. So we're going to use our diagram. What do I have in my diagram? We have 2 buttons and our selector, okay? Now, on the run part, it's the start button. Okay, this is the start of everything. Now, what type of contact are we going to need? Now, this is a regularly open contact. And also, it's being added here, our reverse on forward, which is regularly open or normally open. Which basically, for now, this is going to be the same. But what we are interested is our stop button. Okay? So this is in green. And here you'll say, well, this is normally open, so it's already green. What do you need? The fact of the matter is, no. Maybe some of you already have the experience and with your contacts on the blocks. But for those people, remember, not everyone started knowing this. So this is probably your first experience with the drives. So therefore, this that is behind this button or these buttons are your very famous contacts. Okay, this which I'm saying that is regularly open, match with your start button. And this which is your stop button is your normally closed block. So this all has a reason why. Now, this is already directed. Now this is the button structure, and here we should add our blocks, as we say here in Mexico, or our contacts, as they're known worldwide. Okay? All right, now we're going to start connecting this. What are we going to start off with? First, I'd like to start off with our MI1 part, which is our run. So we're going to do a very close zoom in. Very good. Now I have some blue wires for control, obviously, according to the regulations. And I'm going to connect as quick as possible for you guys. Logically, with your cable, they're going to be uncovered. They're going to be exposed for you. So I want you to see where these connections are coming from. But also, you guys should connect them correctly. Okay, you should buy or you should get your terminals, and you should add them to your cables. Okay, now I'm doing this because this is a course and this is a demo, but never do this with your customers. Okay, so we're in MI1. So I press this and I stick my cable in. There we go. Okay, so it's already fixed. Now, this drive has this type of terminal, which is basically with our pressure, with like finger pressure. They're not all the same. Keep this in mind. So they all change depending on the brand. It could be a screw type, or it could be a screw, or it could be a different type of pressure. So this is going to be very easy, very efficient. But which one is best? For me, the best one is the screw type. Because that way, like this one, but for the terminals. Like this, but for the terminals. Why? Because you can basically fix very quickly. Fix as in leave it fixed, not repair. Now, question, this one, which terminal does it go in? It goes to run. So then it's going to go next to the terminal. And I'd like to guide myself by using the numbers. So then I'm going to start on this side, the bottom side. Now I'm going to take my screwdriver and all of them, I'm going to loosen them up so that this is easier. Here we go. All right, very well. We're going to connect this, our block or our contact. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to tighten this up. Very well. Now, what else is next, guys? Question. Do we connect it to a regularly open which matches the start? So we connect this M1 to terminal number 3, which in this case is a regularly open terminal. Now, what's next, guys? We're going to follow our diagram. We have this part already done. Now, on the other side of the terminal, or our block, for the regularly open, we should connect our stop part, our stock part. So, this goes to our regularly closed part. Now, here it's telling us that there's a different connection that is directed to our digital input number MI3. Okay? So, therefore, we're going to connect these cables. Okay? Allow me to use this one more time. Let me build up another cable, which is the one that we need, actually. Here we go. So I have a small cable, a small wire. This one is going to be our bypass. Well, this actually is a bypass. But this is the connection between this point to this other point, which is what our diagram is asking us for. So I already have this here. So all that I'm missing is from our MI3 part to our run terminal. So I have to take, again, I have to take this and I'm going to close the gap here. I'm sorry, I'm going to get this closer. I'm going to take my MI3 on this side and I'm going to connect it here in our MI3. Here we go. So this is ready already. And I introduce this. Very well. So I remove this and here I have my MI3 cable. Now where's this directed to? To our other terminal end, which is our normally open contact. So regularly in camera, it may take a little bit longer, but it's going to be worth it. Trust me, for those people who are lost and whichever you guys don't have enough expertise in electrical diagram. So we're going to input this for our cable. And we're going to enter this. So this is normally open. Here we go. And all we are missing is the bypass on the other side. So I'm connecting here two cables in one only terminal. Because one point is being used. And we're going to connect this. So I'm going to explain this to you in larger detail. So we're going to connect this with a regularly closed ending. So I'm going to press here with my screwdriver. And okay, so we're going to summarize what we have connected here. So we already have connected our MI1 to our run terminal, which is this one right here. And then we have from our stop connected from our first terminal, which is this one, which is normally closed to the normally open part. Okay. And again, on our normally open part, we're going to connect this on the stop part, which is our MI3. Excellent then. So all that we'd be missing here is to tighten this screw up. Okay, ready then. So then we do this one, and then we do this one. So now what would be missing? We're going to continue with our normally closed part. So we need to connect this terminal. And now comes our new device, which is our selector. Now, this selector is going to be two positions. So then when I turn it to the left, it's going to be in our 0 position. When I turn it to our right, it's going to be in 1 position. So it's a digital part. And we have a regularly closed 1. So this selector is sustained. It's a two-way. Okay? There is no return. It's not like jogging. So therefore, we're going to analyze our diagram for our terminal, for our stop terminal. And there could be a cable that goes directly to our DCM or DSM, and we can connect it to a terminal for our normally open selector. And from here, we can get a different cable, which heads out to DCM. So we're going to be using both of our cables in one only terminal. Now, what is it that we need? In this case, we're going to connect the cable to our normally closed contact, which is the other part that was missing. Now, here we go. We already have this. We already have this located. We tighten this up. And ready. Now, what else are we missing? We need to connect this cable to what it is, and for our normally open terminal. So we're going to loosen the screws, and here we go. so that it goes in our 3. It can go in through our 3, our number 4, but I'm doing this so I can get some order. So here it is positioned, but we are missing another cable that is headed to our terminal, which is this point right here, so that it goes to our very famous DCM. So we're going to stick it to our signal for both parts, for both ends. So it's going to affect the normally closed, so that we can close the circuit, and it's going to affect our selector. So here is where we're going to press. We're going to tighten this up, and here we go. So all we're missing is 2 connections, okay? 2 of which they are one that goes out. You know what? Let me put this on the bottom part so you guys can see this. So we're going to connect this to our DCM. So here we have 2, and I recommend that this be the first one, which is basically the same thing. So the other one is just in case we couldn't make it or we couldn't connect this, and we were unable to connect more terminals and we need to use more digital terminals. So this is going to be the one that's directed. And if you can see, we're only going to be able to use 1 cable at a time. Okay? So this one is ready. So this is our DCM. Now, what else is missing? Once we have this focused on our camera, we're going to connect this with our MI2, which according to our manual, this means forward or backwards. So we're going to position this on this side, and we're going to place our cable, and here we're going to press, and we're going to press here, so we're going to put this here. Okay. Now this is our MI2. Now finally, I'm going to go back, and here we go. So ultimately, this cable is going to go in on our missing cable. Okay. Now here we go. So I'm going to tighten this up. Just tightening this up. Okay. And now this is ready. Okay. So we have here, after this endless sea of cables that we have here, we also have our connections, okay? Now, I'm going to indicate you guys as engineers that are on the field, that are with your customers, with your bosses, with your peers, this should be presentable, okay? Our terminals, 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 labels, 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 okay? Now, I'm doing it this way, but because I want you guys to notice this right from the beginning. So before we connect or disconnect, we're going to cut the cables for our drives. So that's why I'm doing this from scratch. So let's analyze this one more time. So we started out with our M1 to our terminal. M1 to our normally open, which is our run. And then on the other side, it's coming from our terminal to our stop. And on the other side of our terminal, which is normally open, goes to our stop. So this is our bridge, okay? Now, careful though. We have here another cable which heads out to our MI3, which is our open stop. So MI3, here we go. And then afterwards, on the other side of our terminal, for our regularly or normally open one, we need to connect it to our DCM. So this cable we could get a direct DCM. So all we're doing is we're connecting it from here to here. Okay, there's a bypass from this terminal to this other terminal, from which for my forward to my reverse is this one, the normally open. And for this condition to be met, or to comply, I should connect another cable, which is where we are, and we're going to connect it to my DCM. So here we go. And then finally, it's saying the terminal, which is spare, where there's nothing connected, connect that to your MI2, which is digital. So it's from this one to our extra additional terminal. And that would be basically it. Okay? You guys should be able to set your cables with your customer, or set up your cables with your customer. And you can then start using a cable cover, and you start combing them and arranging them correctly. And we're going to make this pretty. But this is only for the aesthetic part. What I really want is to teach you guys how to configure. Okay, so for our following videos, we're going to see how our connections here, how they're going to go. So you're basically going to find your cable covers, etc. But we should know how our 3-wire is connected to our 2-wire. Okay? So with this, we're going to command our motor, our start button, our stop button, or our speed turn. It's pretty easy, right? Okay, so now we're going to continue with our next video, in which we should have everything energized. And that way we configure our parameters from scratch. So I'll see you guys in our next video.